a dental health crisis. Have you had trouble getting a dental appointment or even registering with an NHS practice? We'll speak to the dentist to the stars, Richard Marks, the man behind the smiles of none other than Tom Daley, Christine Lampard and Rylan Clark. Plus, we'll hear about the dental nightmares of people who get their teeth done in Turkey, like this guy who's suffering from a terrible case of turkey teeth. We'll discuss that at 9:20 in The Big Question. My Mark Meets guest is an incredibly talented young athlete. In fact, the youngest person to represent Wales at senior level in any sport. Former European #1 tennis player. She's just 16. Anna Hersey joins me just after 10. And in my take at 10, yes, it's hot, but stop treating us like children. So we've got some big debates and we're going to have some fun along the way, and we're going to celebrate the great weather. You won't want to miss a second of this bright, sunny show. And remember, we don't do boring, not on my watch. And neither does Tatiana Sanchez. Let me tell you about Tatiana. She's been an incredible producer on this show. I have reluctantly let her go on screen, and she's now going to be a major star of our news bulletins. Take it away, Tatiana Sanchez.
Thank you very much, Mark Dolan. I am Tatiana Sanchez in the GB newsroom. Now, the Cabinet Office has chaired an emergency COBRA meeting as the UK could hit a record high temperature of 40 degrees next week. It's after the Met Office issued its first and highest red extreme heat alert for parts of England on Monday and Tuesday, meaning the hot weather will be a possible threat to life. The UK Health Security Agency has declared a national emergency. Cabinet Minister Kit Malthouse is urging people to avoid unnecessary travel on the two hottest days.
It's the second COBRA meeting, and in between the two, obviously, the first red alert, heat alert in the country's history was issued, which meant that things had obviously worsened slightly. We expect the heat to last for 2 days on Monday and Tuesday, when there's a possibility that records will be broken. But then later in the week, and certainly starting later on Tuesday, cooler air should start to come in from the southwest.
Meanwhile, in Europe, thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes as wildfires sweep across parts of Spain, France and Portugal. More than 1,000 firefighters have been battling fires all week long as officials issued health warnings for the heatwave. More than 12,000 residents have been evacuated in the southwest of France, with temperatures expected to hit over 40 degrees over the next few days. The final 5 Conservative leadership candidates have faced the first of 3 live televised debates clashing over tax cuts and gender politics. Former Chancellor Rishi Sunak defended his economic policies, calling Foreign Secretary Liz Truss's plans a fairy tale. Equalities Minister Kemi Badenoch and International Trade Secretary Penny Mordaunt traded words over trans issues. Backbencher Tom Tugendhat said trust in the Tory party has been collapsing. Meanwhile, Rishi Sunak says the Conservative candidates are all on the same side.
You know, I've got enormous respect and admiration for all of my colleagues who are standing to be leader, and it's right that we have passionate debate about these issues. And when this election is over, we have to remember we're all part of the same Conservative team, the same Conservative family, and we're going to come together and serve the British people.
President Joe Biden says the US will remain an active and engaged partner in the Middle East. In his first visit to the region since becoming president, he held a summit with 6 Gulf states, plus Egypt, Jordan and Iraq. He also held talks with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, which has drawn criticism in the US. Biden had promised to make Saudi Arabia a pariah on the global stage over the murder of Washington Post journalist and Saudi Arabia critic Jamal Khashoggi in 2018. TV, online and DAB Plus radio, this is GB News. Now it's back to Mark Dolan tonight.
Her prompter went down and she still nailed it. What a pro. Welcome to Mark Dolan tonight. A very busy and entertaining 2 hours we've got for you. In my big opinion monologue, it's time to flush away hellish unisex toilets. And what right does a biological male have to be in a female changing room? None. That's my view. Hold out for my big opinion. It's just 2 minutes away. In the big question, is Britain facing a dental health crisis? Have you had trouble getting a dental appointment or even registering with an NHS practice. Millions have had problems. We'll speak to the dentist to the stars, Richard Marks. He's coming in live to the studio. He's the man behind the smiles of Tom Daley, Christine Lampard and Rylan Clark. Plus, we'll hear about the dental nightmares of people who get their teeth done in Turkey. Did you see that image there? That poor chap has got turkey teeth. Find out more about that at 9:20. My Mark Meets guest is a very talented young athlete. In fact, the youngest person to represent Wales at senior level in any sport. Former European #1 tennis player. She's just 16, a UN ambassador. Anna Hersey joins me after 10, a remarkable and inspiring young woman. And in my take at 10, yes, it's hot, but stop treating us like children. In the news agenda with my amazing panel tonight, after a BBC presenter suggested the England football team of women's football is too white, we'll be asking whether women's football needs to be more diverse. And as well, we're going to be stripping off in these hot temperatures. And what we need to know as we take our clothes off is what do we think about body hair? Is it making a comeback? We'll discuss that shortly. Reacting to those stories and many more are my panel of radio and Fleet Street legend Mike Porky Parry, Olympic gymnast Lisa Mason, and podcaster and TV host and comedian Tommy Sandu. Plus, there's a new book out by my pal Tom Bauer about Meghan Markle. It makes for explosive reading. The Queen, we're told, was relieved that Markle would not attend Prince Philip's funeral. Ouch! We'll get full reaction from the Queen of US Royal reporting Kinsey Schofield live from Hollywood, California. Now, I want to hear from you throughout the show. The best bit of my programme is when you get in touch. Mark at gbnews.uk. And this show has a golden rule. We don't do boring. Not on my watch. I just won't have it. So for the next 2 hours, big debate, big guests, and always big opinion. Let's start with this one. The public have spoken. In a poll this week, 98% of those questioned, 98% said they were against unisex toilets in public places. And quite right too. Whilst the misogynistic, homophobic and frankly bonkers concept of gender ideology has been an abstract debate for a long time, the real-world impacts are beginning to be felt by ordinary people, and in particular, ordinary women. There are widespread reports that girls at schools that have unisex loos are avoiding going to the toilet all day long because they don't want to be in a toilet where there are boys. Who could blame them? Droves of women are giving up high street shops for fear that when they're in a changing room trying on a dress, they may encounter a biological male calling themselves a woman. To be blunt, when a woman goes to the toilet, she's vulnerable. When she's in underwear or even naked trying on clothes at H&M, Primark or Zara, she's vulnerable and self-conscious. Unisex changing rooms in shops are the result of amoral, woke corporations folding to the mob in the way that we saw Halifax do with their pathetic pronoun badges, telling customers to bugger off and close their account if they don't sign up to this wretched gender fiction. Well, I don't have daughters, but I do have an army of female friends, relatives and colleagues. And as a man, I personally don't want anyone rocking the full meat and two veg entering female-only spaces. Ladies, I've got your back. And I'm not the only one. The hugely talented Tory leadership hopeful, Kemi Badenoch, has been a vocal critic of trans ideology, which challenges the idea that there are two sexes, a man and a woman. I know that's how mad the world has gone these days. Stating scientific fact is now enough to get you cancelled. Soon you'll be a bad person or a bigot for saying there's gravity. Well, look, there it is. That's gravity. You'll be a bigot, you'll be a bad person for saying the sun sets in the west or that the world is round. But that's where we are. Badenoch, who I've got to say has caught my eye this week in the leadership hustings, made the boldest and most feminist move that she could when she launched her candidacy this week. She was at a venue with two unisex toilets, and she taped over those signs, replacing them with a men's toilet symbol and a women's toilet symbol. Blimey, that's leadership. If I can't have Rishi for Prime Minister, I'll bite your hand off for Badenoch. And well done to the government who have drawn up legislation mandating that new offices, schools, hospitals and entertainment venues must have separate male and female lavatories. Who drew up this legislation? You guessed it, the then Equalities Minister, one Kemi Badenoch. And by the way, I think it's got to be Sunak and Badenoch in the final. In my view, that's a great choice for Britain. I certainly don't want vagina denier Penny Mordaunt occupying number 10. Penny for your votes, less is Mordaunt. Now, I couldn't be more pro-trans. I've got close friends who have aligned to the gender they feel they are. They must receive respect, recognition and love. But unisex toilets and unisex changing rooms are a step too far. If for no other reason than they are the perfect cover for male predators. Not trans women, but male predators. Perverts, violent men and even, God forbid, rapists are always looking for victims. All they've got to do is say they identify as a woman and they have access to women at their most exposed. Take a look at this shocking photo posted online by a lady called AIS202 on Twitter this week. She campaigns for women's rights. And she says, a big burly man in the women's toilets at Dublin Airport today. Women around him clearly uncomfortable, but none of us said anything. Would you be comfortable, she said, confronting a man in the women's loos? That's progress, is it? Wow. Big bloke in there, washing his hands. Do me a favour. Any corporations and institutions signing up to unisex toilets are simply enabling men who seek harm on women. And they're diminishing the lived experience of women who have fought hard for decades to feel safe. Now, I've consulted female colleagues about this today, my amazing team on Mark Dolan tonight, the majority of whom are female. Not a scientific poll, I'll grant you, but they all hate unisex toilets. And they told me that they treasure the unique atmosphere of being around women only in a female toilet. The banter, the support, the friendship, and yes, the borrowed lipstick. Often, a teary woman in a toilet, perhaps let down by a boyfriend, will be comforted by other females, even strangers. It's a supportive, friendly environment as well as a safe one. What's a woman going to do when cornered by a biological male at 1 a.m. in the unisex toilets of a nightclub or a train station? You tell me. Welcome to hell. Unisex toilets are also deeply offensive to women of faith, including Muslim women and women of certain cultures. And here's the point about this trans madness. In reality, it's just men bullying women all over again. And in this case, rowing back on decades of progress in relation to female rights and emancipation. Right-minded men think unisex toilets are terrible too, hence that high figure of 98% against them. That included men. And no opinion poll is ever that conclusive, 98%. Trans extremists have lost the dressing room and the changing room and do the cause of trans rights a great disservice with this invasion of female spaces. It's time to undo this assault on women and their rights and privileges. It's time to flush away the hellish, misogynistic dystopia of unisex toilets. Talk about taking the piss, quite literally. Anyone who thinks this is an acceptable way to treat women can bog off. That's my view. What's yours? Mark at gbnews.uk. Reacting to that and the big stories of the day are my brilliant panel. Fleet Street and radio legend Mike Porky Parry, Olympic gymnast Lisa Mason, and comedian, podcaster and TV presenter Tommy Sandu. Lisa, let me start with you. And by the way, can I have full disclosure? GB News, Lisa, as you well know, has unisex toilets.
We were going to say that.
Literally, we're just talking about
we got unisex toilets. Yeah. And the reason why is because we are a humble startup and we spend all our money on journalism and nothing else. We were in a lovely building, we don't own it, and therefore we cannot dictate exactly how the toilets work, although I can tell you that my team, our guests, they don't like the unisex toilets, and we're working on changing it. So there you go. That's my disclaimer. We've got them, but we hate them. But we like the building. Please don't throw us out. Lisa Mason, what do you think about unisex toilets?
I mean, I can understand the mindset of trying to make everyone, you know, I think the word is inclusive, isn't it? I just think if it's that much of a big deal, you can have men, women, and one where you feel comfortable to go in if you're, you know, trans or whatever. Me personally, as a female, I don't even like going to the car wash by myself because it's just all men there and it's very intimidating, let alone going to, like you said, a toilet or a changing room where you are very vulnerable. So for me, it's a no. I don't feel comfortable, and like you said, the poll is at 98% against it. So,
what did you think of that photograph from the tweeter, the person on Twitter in Ireland? Photograph of a burly bloke in a women's toilet at Dublin Airport washing his hands.
I mean, do we know if that was a unisex toilet? Or...
Yeah, unisex toilet.
It was.
Yeah.
I mean,
correction from my producer. No, it's a women's toilet. So
if it was a women's toilet...
has self-ID. There's a women's toilet with the biological male in there washing their hands who I'm assuming identifies as female.
I mean, I don't... We can just make an assumption on that, can't we? Me, personally, if it was a guy that I can see is, you know, a man and he's a big figure like that, myself, personally, I would have addressed the situation and been like... But at the same time, I'll hold my hands up when the women's queue has been super, super long. I've whipped into the men's toilets and gone and used the toilet, so...
Well, yeah, maybe it's an airport story, and, of course, you know, that is on Twitter. You know, sometimes you have to take what you see on Twitter with a pinch of salt. But Mike Parry, this wouldn't be the first time that men are self-identifying as female and using women's facilities, and 98% of the public say it's not right.
Well, I've agreed with everything you've said so far, Mark, but if there's one thing you haven't touched upon, what about the feelings of men? Because I feel as bad, if not worse, than the women who are subjected to this vile idea that men and women can share the same bathrooms. It's a vile idea. Men and women are biologically different in every case except 0.5% of the population for whom we should make arrangements. Transgender people want to use bathroom facilities, there should be facilities there for them, but not to mix with everybody else. Now, I feel terribly uncomfortable. If I have to go into a unisex toilet, I feel uncomfortable on the score that I feel embarrassed standing next to a pretty woman who's at the basin next to me. She might be doing her makeup, and all of a sudden I want to do something which is a bit more male. For instance, I came in tonight, it's a very hot day, and I got a cloth and I wanted to mop my brow, literally. Well, I feel quite embarrassed doing that in front of a woman, OK? I also don't want to... The thing about unisex toilets, for anybody who hasn't been in one, they just consist of cubicles. So you come out of a cubicle and you don't know what you're going to be greeted with. Are you going to be greeted with another man or another woman? And how embarrassed you feel? I think it's as horrible for men as it is for women.
I agree with you, Mike. I don't want anyone to see my Willy Winkle other than Mrs. Dolan, and even that's been a while.
Yes, well, I can understand that perfectly well. But what I'm going to say is that it's not that. There is privacy within the cubicles, but the cubicles are like prisons that you never get out of, because I'm kind of listening, if you see what I mean, to see whether I can hear who's come in has got high heels on, you know, clickety-clickety-click, or whether it's some big burly bloke, because I would feel incredibly uncomfortable coming out of that cubicle to be met by a young lady. I love women to bits and have done all my life.
Of course.
And frankly, I just feel horribly embarrassed. I feel humiliated, and I just don't like it.
Do we need to go the other way with this, Tommy Sandu, and understand that if you feel that you're in the wrong body, then what you want is a world which accepts and embraces who you are, and that's the idea of unisex toilets, that it's very inclusive to meet people that are prejudged against and get a hard time, which is trans people?
Look, yeah, exactly. I think, Mark, you've hit the kind of... I think what is underlying this issue is you want everyone to feel comfortable as who they are, whatever they are, and how they identify. You want everyone to feel like they fit in this world. And I suppose the world is changing right now. We're trying to identify the complexities of gender and many other factors, how people choose to live their life. And we just want people to feel comfortable. But here is... We're getting down into the nitty-gritty of it, of how we pee, where we're going. Can I just say, there's this whole thing about big, burly men. And you said it, Mark, as well. You know, a lot of my friends are big and burly, but they're also soft and cuddly and lovely. In fact, a lot of my friends are very, I suppose, feminine as men. You know, we tell each other we love each other, all my friends do. So I don't want to go down the route of big burly men are intimidating, and I don't think women should go around into toilets or live their life thinking that just because I'm 6'2", I'd class myself as big and burly, but, you know, I'm pretty sure Mike could be just as creepy as me in the toilet.
I'm not a creep.
I know you're not. I know you're not.
Right,
But I'm saying is, but creeps come in all shapes and sizes.
Mike's only creepy when he's in the lavatories as a newspaper hack trying to find a story, aren't you, Mike?
Usually trying to find people out. You're right, Mark.
No, but what I will say is, nobody wants to pee or poo near anyone. My wife doesn't let me in the toilet when she's going doing a bit. She's like, get out! And I'm like, why? Can I just come in and do it? She doesn't want me anymore, and I'm her husband. So, and even, you know, Mark, when there's like the middle urinal free and there's a bloke either side, you reluctantly take that urinal. You don't even want to be around other men as a man. So I think that the toilet is a place of privacy. People should feel comfortable, but we're getting into tricky territory here because we have to make everyone feel comfortable in this world. It's a communal world. So
Lisa, before we hit the break, we've got an amazing big question coming up. But I was talking to my team earlier, Tatiana and Melissa and Rebecca, and they were talking about the fact that the female toilets in a nightclub, in a bar, in a restaurant, there's a sort of camaraderie, a sisterhood among women. Women help each other out. They talk, they gossip, even if they're strangers.
Absolutely.
Is that at risk of being lost?
Yes, I think so. You've got to understand that, you know, bad things happen in a lot of places. One example, you know, we were out at a nightclub and there was a bunch of girls and everyone starts talking and, you know, it's like people give you the heads up, like, be careful of your drinks around these people because if there's a group of guys there, women are not going to talk like that. You know, I think there's this misconception that women just are there and bitching and, just doing all this nattiness, and it's not the case. I think a lot of us girls have each other's backs and, you know, it's a place, I mean, and I feel like if something happens, where's the first place, you know, someone kind of runs to if they're upset? It's the toilet, it's the bathroom.
And actually, Mark, on that note, that's why I don't want to share toilets. They're going to slow down our process. Us guys are quick. We go, it's like the drive-through of weeing. These guys want to sit down with a 3-course meal, you know, I'm sure there's some important issues. There's probably some less important issues also being discussed in there, and comparisons of outfits and things like that. Wham, bam. And then when I see the queue of the women's toilet, I'm like, I'm so glad we can just go do our thing and get on in and out. Express, it's like the Formula 1 pit change. But these guys are not. They're like, you know, leave your car with us for a week. It's not going to work. I want to stay in our own lane. Can they please keep to theirs as well? Thank you.
Wham bam might not be the expression, but I get your point, Tommy Sandu. I think you'll agree we're travelling business class with my amazing panel tonight. So excited to hear the views of Mike Parry, Lisa Mason and Tommy Sandu about a range of topics later this hour, including, is women's football not diverse enough? The Beeb think that the female women's team should have more diversity. What do we think about that? We'll discuss that very shortly. But next in the big question, is Britain facing an NHS dental crisis? Have you had trouble getting an appointment with an NHS dentist or even signing up to a practice? We'll talk about teeth. Some people go to Turkey to get their teeth sorted out now. So we'll talk all things teeth, dental health with celebrity dentist to the stars, Dr. Richard Marks. He's next.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment. We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory.
twice baked. Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GBNews.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, Matt. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
A big reaction to my big opinion monologue. I'm sorry, but unisex toilets are not acceptable in my view, but what's yours? Keith has emailed the programme. Hi, Keith. First email of the night. Lovely to have your company. Keith says, hi, Mark, let's not generalise and condemn all unisex toilets. We have them in our homes. Fully self-contained disabled public toilets are often unisex, and the same is true of small establishments such as small eating places and churches which have only one loo or a small number with their own hand-washing facilities. Surely only toilets with cubicles which open out into a shared space, which is not a fully public space, pose any theoretical risk to women. Keith, thank you for that. I suppose to clarify, yes, I think it is about those toilets that are communal, in which lots of people would be going in and out. That is my area of concern, but thanks for that clarification. Aaron says, unisex toilets, it's obvious by the news that gay people and bisexual people carry monkeypox. I don't think people would want to share toilets with those people. I think Aaron there, very tongue-in-cheek. Maria says, Mark, I'm just watching your brilliant and amusing programme. Thank you very much, Maria, for those kind words. The idea of unisex toilets is totally abhorrent. Most genuine non-trans women, i.e. a human being who's born a woman, would feel totally uncomfortable. It's a disgusting insult to natural women. Maria, thank you for your view, and thank you for all of your views. Keep them coming. The best part of my show is when you get in touch. Mark at gbnews.uk. Lots to get through. It's time now for the big question, in which we tackle a major news story of the day. Tonight, is Britain facing a dental health crisis? With practices closed or offering a reduced service during the pandemic, dentists now face a huge backlog, which has parallels with the one facing the NHS itself. It's harder now for people to get an appointment or register with a dental practice. And sadly, after 2 years of being stuck at home, often eating the wrong food and ignoring our teeth, many fear our dental health is at an all-time low. Things are so desperate that many are fleeing to countries like Turkey for treatment, although it doesn't always go according to plan. Take a look at this story in the Mail. It's quite shocking. People go to Turkey and they come back with something called turkey teeth, in which they look worse than Shaun Ryder. It's called turkey teeth. We'll discuss that shortly. We've got a picture to show you. You're going to love it. Well, speaking of the best look in terms of your teeth, to discuss the state of the nation's dental health, I'm delighted to welcome one of the very best in the business, Dr. Richard Marks, founder of Dr. Richard Clinics, a leading dental practice which specialises in restorative dentistry, periodontal health and advanced aesthetics. Richard is responsible for the celebrity smiles of none other than Tom Daley, Christine Lampard and Rylan Clark. Amazing. They all look incredible. Well, Dr. Richard Marks, welcome to GB News.
Hello, how are you?
Very well. Great to have you on the programme. Are you worried about the state of the nation's dental health?
Yeah, I think it is a really big problem. Obviously, as you've said, the NHS has got a big backlog, and the pandemic has really added to that, with kind of increasing waiting lists and people having trouble being able to access dentists. So, yeah, there are a lot of problems in the dental health service at the moment.
And in the course of the pandemic, 2.5 years, people have ignored issues with their teeth because they maybe didn't want to leave the house, or they didn't want to go to a dental surgery, or perhaps the dental surgery wasn't welcoming. It's the same with GPs. People thought, well, unless I'm half dead, I'm not allowed to go. Yeah. Whereas actually, in many cases, surgeries were open, but people didn't go.
Yeah, that's the thing. And also, I think during the pandemic, people were like snacking a lot more. So they're increasing their sugar intake. Maybe they're not kind of brushing as much as they used to, and missing dental checkups and dental cleanings, obviously. So all of that adds up.
So, yeah, the visit to the dental hygienist, these regular checkups. And the whole issue with teeth is that if you ignore some mild pain, you're building up problems for the future, aren't you?
That's the thing, yeah. So it's much better to find a problem early, and then it can be fixed with, perhaps it's a small filling, rather than ending up with a root canal or extraction, which obviously everyone wants to avoid.
So yeah, so it's a case of nipping it in the bud. A small cavity can be filled, problem solved. Leave it 6 months, and you could be thousands of quid's worth of damage done.
Exactly, yeah. Obviously, it's a money saving as well by going early. You can get it fixed, but rather than turning into something more serious and then need to shell out more money.
Now, I know you guys are the elites, but what is your overview about the state of dentistry in Britain? Does it work with this sort of hybrid system of some NHS practices and other private practices? Is it fit for purpose?
Well, there's a lot of debate over that. We all believe in the NHS, and it's really important that we have a service which is accessible and something for everybody. So we've also got, in the hospital, dentistry as well for removal of wisdom teeth and certain things like that. So that's really important that there's something for everyone. But obviously, we also have private dentistry as well for more complex things. So the only problem at the moment is that the NHS funding has been cut. As everybody knows, it's been well publicised. The surgeries are really backed up and the waiting list. So right now, maybe it's not as fit for purpose as it has been.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder, as with the NHS itself, the pandemic has shone a light on the weaknesses of the system, and now it's overwhelmed, close to breaking point. People are waiting weeks on end, sometimes months, for dental treatment, and some people cannot get on the books of a dental practice.
Yeah, I mean, that's a real problem. We advise everybody to have like 6 monthly checkups, and I think you might have heard these stories of DIY dentistry. That's a real problem. People not being able to access a dentist, so they're taking matters into their own hand. People trying to do their own extractions and trying to fix their own teeth. So, this is a real problem and something that needs to be addressed. And I think that, the political, there's a lot of political pressure on them to kind of address the problems in dentistry at the moment.
Well, yes, and it's money well spent, because if you don't look after your teeth, that opens up myriad other health problems, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's the thing, because with the teeth, if you have teeth infections, that can actually go into the bloodstream, and it can cause problems with the heart and other systems. And also, if you have gum disease that's untreated, that can also cause problems with...
Yes, and I was reading about a link between flossing and reducing the risk of heart problems.
Yeah, that's because flossing is interdental cleaning, and that's for your gums. And if you have gum disease or gum problems, then that can lead to problems with your heart. So that's why it's so important.
It's all connected. We're going to bring my panel in a moment to see how we can fix these issues, because, I've got so many viewers that are having trouble getting appointments. It's also, if the kids need an orthodontist, that's another problem as well. Sometimes you've got to wait a year, 2 years, plus prices have gone up. But let's talk about your amazing practice. You work with lots of celebrities and other members of the public. Yes. On the cosmetic side, what do you do?
So there's lots of interesting things that people want to do cosmetically, dentistry-wise. Obviously, teeth straightening is one, and that happens with adult orthodontics as well as child. And
does that mean that you'd have to have rail tracks like an adult? Would they have to look like an American teenager?
Not always. Some people do have mental braces, but there's also aligners, clear aligners to straighten teeth.
So they're on all the time, but you don't see them?
Exactly. And also there's ceramic brackets, so clear brackets and wires. And then there's even braces inside the teeth. That's called lingual orthodontics.
So you do all of that. And I mean, we get jokes about, don't we, in the UK, that we've got bad teeth. The Americans always say that we've got bad teeth. Do we?
Well, I think historically, maybe yes, but I think, British attitudes are changing, and you can get a nice smile there, which is good.
Well, I don't want you to see too much of my teeth, because I'm sure I forgot to floss this morning.
Well, everybody should be flossing as much as possible. But, I think we're actually, attitudes are changing. People are becoming more aware. Obviously Americans historically had, took a lot of care in their dental health, but I think the British are now coming on to being aware of dental health.
So you do that, you do teeth whitening as well?
Yes, teeth whitening.
And how does that work?
So basically, there's lots of different ways, starting from a simple cleaning, obviously like a cleaning and polishing. And then there's teeth whitening gels that we use. That can be done in clinic with light activation, or it can be done with trays at home.
And is that UV light?
Yeah, it's actually in the blue wavelength. It's just below UV.
And the teeth stay white?
Well, if you look after them, they stay white. So again, it's still important to brush them regularly. It's important to see the dentist and hygienist regularly, and trying to avoid like red wine, black coffee, black tea, those things.
Oh, God, you've lost me there. I was about to book an appointment. No, look, I'm sure it is brilliant because you've got lots of very happy clients, including those big names that I mentioned. Is there any risk to the bleaching, for example? Can that weaken the tooth at all?
The thing which we always say is some people buy products off the internet and you don't know what's in them. That's a really important thing. And it's unregulated. So those products that you buy off the internet, they can potentially have bleaches that are not dental grade, or they could have products that are not, that can strip enamel. And so we don't advise that. If you go to a dentist and have dental grade whitening, then there's a lot of clinical research, they're safe products, so, you know, that's absolutely safe.
I'll give details of your clinic in just a moment. Can we power through a couple of other sort of idiot questions from me, including veneers? What are they? And do you do them?
Yes, we do veneers. Veneers are basically thin covering of porcelain, generally porcelain over the teeth.
So it's the same material that would be in a china cup?
Yeah, similar. Similar. And also now there is composite veneers, which is like composite bonding, where you layer an enamel substitute over the teeth.
Oh, I see. OK. And so that is a bit like crazy paving for the teeth?
Yeah, well...
Cladding.
Yeah, anything
so what do you do? Do you have to shave the original tooth down a bit?
You do. That's the thing. There's a big difference between like veneers that are done. There's ultra thin, where very thin layers of tooth is removed. But then, as you've seen from some places where people are going abroad, they can take a lot more of the tooth away.
Yeah, and that's what we've heard about turkey tooth or turkey teeth, where you go to a cheap clinic abroad. I'm sure there are good dentists in Turkey.
Of course, that's what we're saying. You know, there's good dentists everywhere. You know, we don't want to generalise.
But in the UK, you know where to find them because they're all, you know, official. I mean, I don't know what...
Exactly, regulated. And also there's follow-up care, you know. The dentist will always be there for you if you have any problems and need follow-up.
So these, you shave down the tooth a bit, and then these porcelain or composites go onto the tooth surface, and then you have these amazing natural-looking teeth.
Wow. Hopefully they look natural. Again, you know, when they're done in a certain way, we've talked about this, people going abroad.
It's a skill, not done badly. And you want them done that they stay on as well.
Exactly.
Can I ask for your professional verdict of some celebrities that my team put together? They're not clients of yours, or at least I don't think they are, so you can be honest. You can be brutally honest, Dr. Richard Marks. We have a very talented man, Simon Cowell. What's your verdict on his winning smile?
So obviously this is a very famous smile. I think, you know, Simon Cowell being in LA, being on the judging shows, this is a smile that's needed in that position.
Yeah. Although, would you really go for that yourself, or would you?
I personally, you know, it's very white. It's a very big smile, but then again, it's one of his characteristic trademarks.
I think we can read between the lines there. Dr. Richard Marks being very diplomatic. How about our next celebrity? Who have we got next? So, Jurgen Klopp.
OK, yeah. So, you know, there's been a lot of talk about his teeth as well. Some people say they're too big or too white, but, you know, again, he's a very smiley person, you know, and it's one of his trademark features.
The problem I think I've got there, and I'm a big fan of his, a great admirer. I mean, not that big a fan. I'm a Tottenham supporter, but, you know, I do respect Jurgen Klopp. My producer Tom's a big fan. And but I don't think the teeth, which are great, I don't think they fit his face.
Yeah.
You know, for example, the teeth look younger than he is.
Yeah, that is a problem. So people say if you're going to get your teeth done, if you go for kind of very, very white teeth, it kind of has to be age appropriate, you know. More natural looking teeth is better at a certain point.
Right. So I'm 48. You give me a set of sort of yellow tombstone teeth, right?
Well, we would say a natural white.
Yeah, a 30-a-day cigarette smoker. How about Katie Price, good friend of mine?
Yes. You know, obviously everyone knows her smile, and she's had a lot of aesthetic work done. I think the thing is, when you have a certain look and you've had a lot of aesthetic work done all over, then the teeth have to match, you know. So there is a reason for her to have this smile.
Yeah, and one thing with Katie, who I do know and work with, I'm very fond of her, but a bit like the plastic surgery, you don't want to have too much treatment, do you?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, you want to still look natural and still look like yourself, just improve features. So if you have very big, very white teeth, it can sometimes be too much, and it has to suit your face.
What you don't want, you can't be coming back for repeat. You don't want to be chipping those teeth down too often, do you?
Exactly. Every time you have them replaced, you know, it's more and more work. So ideally, try and get it right the first time.
And last but not least, Dr. Marks, Chloe Sims, reality star.
Yes. Again, you know, lovely person. There's been a lot of talk about her teeth. I think she may have also had them redone, but they were very, very big and white, and she had a more prominent front jaw, and, you know, they came forward, and, you know, it just looked too much. So.
It was a bit too much. Well, I know that wouldn't happen on your watch. Let's bring my panel in on this conversation with Dr. Richard Marks. Let's have a word with Mike Porky Parry, Fleet Street legend, Lisa Mason, Olympian, and Tommy Sandu, broadcaster and comedian. Tommy, would you like your teeth done?
No, see, OK, I'm kind of against anything like this. I'm actually even sort of not really a fan of tattoos, not a fan of any kind of Botox or any changes. I think the body's a wonderful thing. I think things that happen to your body you should accept. And I worry, Mark, I worry Richard, because I think there's a pressure, a pursuit of perfection. I think it's a slippery slope. And I think unless you are of sound mind, then it's a dangerous journey to go down, because it can lead to other things. So, you know, I know people very close to me that have had a little bit of Botox and a little bit of this, and that's where they draw the line and that's where it stops. But I think if you do the teeth, if you do something else, then what are you really saying? You're really saying, I'm not happy with me as I am. And I think the outside really doesn't matter. Maybe it's me because of the way I look. I have to let go of what's on the outside. And you know, I think it's more about personality. It's more about heart. It's more about soul. So I think those qualities are what people should focus on, not the exterior.
Well, Richard, I'll allow you to defend your industry.
Well, the thing is, as long as people are doing things that enhance themselves and make them feel better, like a better version of yourself, you know, it's just like going to the gym, you look good, you feel good, you're doing a better version of yourself. Once you take that next step, or, you know, and start injecting things to make your body bigger, it's the same with cosmetic things, you know. As you said, a little bit of Botox might be good, but once you've gone to that frozen look, then that's too much.
Yeah.
Mike Porky Parry, do you think there are ethical issues around cosmetic work on teeth?
Well, can I ask the doctor this, Dr. Richard? Did you train as a dentist in this country, in the UK?
Yes.
Right. So I, as a taxpayer, then, have contributed towards your training 4 or 5 or maybe 6 years, OK? And you became a dentist. I expect in return you to do a lot of work in the NHS, but I don't know anybody who can find an NHS dentist. I, for instance, have probably spent about £20,000 on my teeth over the years, you know, putting in new teeth, implants, crowns, that kind of stuff.
You've got more gold in your mouth than Mr. T.
It's almost like that, Mark. And what I'm saying to the doc is, why don't you give over more time to helping people who can't afford the sort of dental treatment I've got? Because I know for a fact people scour the earth for an NHS dentist. You should be an NHS dentist, because I paid to train you.
Yeah. No, I totally appreciate your point. Firstly, as dentists who are UK trained, we have to do at least a year in the NHS. And most
1 year? 1 year after all the training?
But it's the same. It's the same for consultant doctors, Mike Porky Parry. They can go and do private work. The bottom line is, Richard, the doctor, is healing people. It's just that he's got a certain clientele who can afford a private service.
No, I'm sorry, Mark. He's improving people. He's improving people's vanity. But he's not healing a child of 12 who's got an abscess in his tooth and needs the tooth replacing, because we can't find NHS dentists who do that sort of thing.
Well, that's the nature of the setup, isn't it, Richard? We talked about it earlier, that there are private practices and there are NHS practices, and it's a mix.
Yeah, well, I think the real problem, you know, as you say, there needs to be increased funding for the NHS, you know. There is a problem with NHS dentistry and access, and I think that's a real problem. But that has to be looked at from, political and health standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, Dr. Richard is still treating people with dental issues. They are British people, and he is serving them well. So it's just the mechanic by which they get the service is different, just as anyone that goes to a Bupa hospital is paying, but they're still being treated in this country. But, Mike, I take your point. How about you, Lisa? Do you fancy having any work done? Because I do think I could be brightened up by a couple of shades.
Do you know what? I have actually thought about it, but I would absolutely not go and get, like, the full set and get all these teeth filed down. It's not... That just looks painful to me, and it's terrifying. But I can understand why people do it. I think, however, a lot of people that are getting these turkey teeth, as you called them, are younger people that can't afford to have the work done here. So they go to Turkey because it's half the price. And then they end up in this situation and they come back to England and it is the dentists over here that have to kind of fix it. But that, again, we were just discussing, it's vanity and the pressures of these young people that's put onto them to look a certain way. It is keeping up with the Kardashians and, talking about Simon Cowell's smile, and how perfect it needs to be. And you've got all these younger, kids that are kind of aspiring to be that. And if your teeth are not perfect and white, it's like it's not enough. So I think, so many people are opting for the cheaper option because that's what they can do. And over here, a lot of people are turned down for, financial plans put in place to have this work done. My friend in particular, her son fell off a scooter, his tooth was knocked out. He has to have an implant put in and, she was quoted a few thousand to have this tooth done. She went to apply for a payment plan and she was declined. Now, she doesn't have, £3,000-4,000 to get his teeth fixed. And I think that's something that could be put in place with regards to, a scheme. Like in America, they have, payment plans where they put towards insurance and people can have, good dentist work here and not have to go to Turkey to get the bodge jobs because they're cheaper. But there's not an option here. It's either like the NHS or you're paying through literally your teeth for it.
Nicely done. Yeah, that's all a fair point. Well, look, Dr. Richard, the clock's against us. Do you want to tell us how transformative it is for people to get their teeth sorted out? How much of an impact has it been on people's lives when they go in looking a mess and they come out looking like, an absolute Hollywood star?
Yeah, I think it makes a huge difference to people. Obviously, as we said, function is first, so it's really important to have regular dental checkups and cleaning. But having some aesthetic work done, it just makes people feel more confident and it's just good for their general well-being. So, yeah, it makes a huge difference to people.
And that's you and Rylan working together. I saw him the other day. He looks amazing. He's got a Hollywood smile. It's all down to Dr. Richard Marks. If you want to find out more about his brilliant clinics, they are called Dr. Richard Clinics. If you Google Dr. Richard Clinics on the old internet, it comes up, drrichdlondon.com. Richard, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
I promised to floss before I go to bed tonight.
Well
if you've got dental issues, do contact your local NHS provider. Lots of help out there. If you're suffering from tooth issues, prevention is better than cure. Lots more to come, including Mark Meets and my take at 10. Yes, it's hot, but stop treating us like children. And next in the news agenda with my panel, should women's football be more diverse? We'll discuss that with Mike Parry, Lisa Mason and Tommy Sandu.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment. We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, Matt. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
Are you having trouble getting an NHS dentist appointment? This from Yvonne. Hello, Yvonne. How are you? Thanks for your email, mark@gbnews.uk. Yvonne says, I went 17 years ago to Budapest after seeing several NHS dentists, and my problem was created by an NHS dentist. I was and still am really pleased with the work done, and my NHS dentist does not mind. How about turkey teeth? This from Marlena. Instead of paying for the flight to Turkey, money could be spent on treatment instead. Marlena, thank you so much. An outbreak of common sense there. How about this finally? A lot of dentists are not taking on NHS patients, says Gary. I'm lucky that I have a dentist, but even I've suffered. I was meant to have an impression done in January, but my appointment was cancelled and moved to August to make way for paying patients. That's terrible, Gary. Thanks for letting us know about that. The Women's Football European Championships are underway right now, and hosts England have got a very good start in terms of their first games. They won all 3 of their group games, scoring 14 goals and conceding none. After an 8-0 thrashing of Norway, the BBC's Ailey Barber said all starting 11 players and 5 substitutes who came onto the pitch were white. And that does point towards a lack of diversity in the women's game in England. Her comments attracted a lot of discussion, so let's see what my panel think about this. Mike Parry, Tommy Sandu and Lisa Mason. If I could start with you, Lisa, because you are an athlete yourself. Yes. Was it appropriate for this BBC presenter to start talking about diversity after the England football team have just won 8-0 against Norway?
Maybe she's just pointing out the obvious. I don't know. It's a difficult one. I mean, being a gymnast, it was predominantly white when I was, competing. There weren't a lot of, people of colour in the sport. Yeah. Now, however, the best gymnast in the world is Simone Biles. That girl, she's fantastic, and it's changing. And you do see so many different, gymnasts that are coming from different nations that have different skin tones. The England footballer,
I mean, they've just won a game, haven't
they? They have just won a game.
How would you feel? I mean, they've absolutely run their socks off, scored 8 goals, and they get a bucket of the brown stuff poured over them by a BBC journalist with a woke agenda.
Probably not the best timing.
Oh, by the way, I hasten to add, a white BBC journalist.
Yeah, absolutely. And that means that every one of those girls who played in that game will be going back into the dressing room thinking, am I only in this team now because I've got white skin, Yeah. Do I feel guilty about keeping somebody out of the team who's got black skin? It's all ludicrous. Have you ever seen the size of the women's game at local level? It's huge in this country, OK? It's still developing as a professional game. It's still developing as an international game. But at grassroots level, there are millions of young girls who play women's football, and I would say 50% of them are black or Asian. And the reason why the 11 women in the team were all white was because they're the 11 best players. There are other players in the squad who are ladies of colour or black or Asian, who either were injured that night or simply weren't picked by the coach. 5 substitutes, 16 altogether, all white. but they are definitely in contention. And I think it's outrageous that the BBC, who published their best earners list this week, and I think the top 10 were all white.
11.
Right, the top 11 were all white, should suddenly invent this outrageous scenario that somehow within the Football Association, which is the finest and least corrupt in the world...
Of which you were previously head of media.
In which I was Director of Communications, absolutely, have got some sort of nefarious plot to keep women with black skin or Asian women or women of colour out of the national football team. It's an outrage that anybody could suggest that, because it's palpably untrue.
To use a football term, it's bollocks, isn't it?
It is complete bollocks,
if you look at the male game, it's brilliantly diverse. Yeah. And certainly in relation to black players.
Absolutely.
Actually, there should be many more Asian players.
Yeah, well, that's a family thing. Asian families don't encourage their kids to play a lot of football, actually. They don't think it's,
It's changing, though, I've got to say, because now... you're right. Yeah. And I think typically over time... Asian parents have been education,
Exactly.
Become
lawyers.
Become Chancellor of the Exchequer and then Prime Minister.
Right, exactly. Something solid. And also marry a billionaire. Keep the money in the family. So have some money security. Yeah. But that's immigrant mentality. You're here because your grandparents came here for a better life. So that better life, it's a gamble playing football. It's a gamble being a gymnast. It's a gamble being a celebrity. Yeah, exactly. My dad pushed me into drama and performing arts, pushed me into dance, pushed me into public speaking. So he would say it's important to be able to speak and hold yourself. So
we could have lost you as a footballer.
Exactly. Well, it could have been anything.
Yeah.
So, but
you look like a winger.
Mate, I'm winging it right now. I think the key is, I think this country is now obsessed with diversity. I think nobody of colour wants a job. I don't want to be on this panel because I'm here because I'm brown. Yeah. You want to be because you've got something to say, because you've got something to share.
I've got Mike because he's northern. That's
exactly.
I'm ticking a couple of boxes.
Exactly.
I'm an Everton supporter.
As many as you can.
But go on.
But in India, there are millions of white people. But where are the white people in the Indian cricket team? And actually, what is India doing right now to encourage more white representation in their national cricket team? They're not. They're not even thinking about it. But here, we're obsessed with it. And not only that, like you said, there's 11 athletes that went out, played a great game of football, and they're now the conversation's moved away from their great game and actually into...
Focused on something different.
Into something completely different. And actually, maybe what we should look at is the infrastructure of the game. And if there are any problems here, I don't know if there are, but you can't just judge it on... Oh, look, there's 11 white women out on the pitch.
It's the woke agenda. I mean, I've worked for companies where all of a sudden I've noticed that myself and a couple of other people who look a bit like me have been kind of laid off and replaced by other people to do the job. I'm talking about the broadcasting world. And then the figures go down. But that's no longer a consideration.
See, right. Well,
you will
never be cancelled on my watch, Mike Porky Parry, because you are a ratings juggernaut. And lots more from Mike Porky Parry, the brilliant Tommy Sandu and the marvellous Lisa Mason in the next hour. Excited about my Mark Meets guest, 16-year-old table tennis champion, #1 in Europe, #2 in the world, Anna Hersey. She's only 16, it's remarkable. Also, it's my Take at 10 next. Yes, I know it's hot, but stop treating us like children. Plus, we've got the papers at exactly 10:30. I'll see you shortly.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment. We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know, the latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, Matt. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
It's 10 o'clock and this is Mark Dolan Tonight. In just a moment, my take at 10. Yes, it's hot, but stop children. Also, we'll get reaction to an explosive new book about Meghan Markle from the Queen of US Royal Reporting, Kinsey Schofield. In the news agenda with my brilliant panel, I'll ask if we give Meghan too much of a hard time. And as we strip off in this scorching summer heat, we'll be asking, is body hair making a comeback? Plus, tomorrow's papers at exactly 10:30 with full panel reaction. A big hour coming up. First, the headlines with Tatiana Sanchez.
I'm Tatiana Sanchez in the GB newsroom. The Cabinet Office has chaired an emergency COBRA meeting as the UK could hit a record high temperature of 40 degrees next week. It's after the Met Office issued its first and highest red extreme heat alert for parts of England on Monday and Tuesday, meaning the hot weather will be a possible threat to life. The UK Health Security Agency has declared a national emergency. Cabinet Minister Kit Malthouse is urging people to avoid unnecessary travel on the two hottest days.
The second COBRA meeting, and in between the two, obviously, the first red alert, heat alert in the country's history was issued, which meant that things had obviously worsened slightly. We expect the heat to last for 2 days on Monday and Tuesday, when there's a possibility that records will be broken. But then later in the week, and certainly starting later on Tuesday, cooler air should start to come in from the southwest.
Meanwhile, in Europe, thousands of people have been evacuated from their homes as wildfires sweep across parts of Spain, France and Portugal. More than 1,000 firefighters have been battling fires all week as officials issued health warnings for that heatwave. More than 12,000 residents have been evacuated in the southwest of France, with temperatures expected to hit over 40 degrees over the next few days. The final 5 Conservative leadership candidates have faced the first of 3 live TV debates clashing over tax cuts and gender politics. Former Chancellor Rishi Sunak defended his economic policies, calling for Foreign Secretary Liz Truss's plans a fairy tale. Equalities Minister Kemi Badenoch and International Trade Secretary Penny Mordaunt traded words over trans issues. Backbencher Tom Tugendhat said trust in the Tory party has been collapsing. Meanwhile, Rishi Sunak says the Conservative candidates are all on the same side.
You know, I've got enormous respect and admiration for all of my colleagues who are standing to be leader, and it's right that we have passionate debate about these issues. And when this election is over, we have to remember we're all part of the same Conservative team, the same Conservative family, and we're going to come together and serve the British people.
President Joe Biden says the US will remain an active and engaged partner in the Middle East. In his first visit to the region since becoming president, he held a summit with 6 Gulf states, plus Egypt, Jordan and Iraq. He also held talks with Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, which has drawn criticism in the US. Biden had promised to make Saudi Arabia a pariah on the global stage over the murder of Washington Post journalist and Saudi Arabia critic Jamal Khashoggi in 2018. TV, online and DAB Plus radio. This is GB News. Now it's back to Mark Dolan Tonight.
It is 4 minutes past 10. Welcome back to Mark Dolan Tonight. Big stories, big guests and big opinions. In just a moment, my take at 10. Yes, it's hot, but stop treating us like children. Plus, there's a new book out by my pal Tom Bauer about Meghan Markle, and it makes for explosive reading. The Queen, we're told, was relieved that Markle would not attend Prince Philip's funeral. Ouch. We'll get full reaction from the Queen of US Royal reporting Kinsey Schofield live from Hollywood, California. In the news agenda with my panel, are we too harsh on Meghan, and is body hair making a comeback? Plus, another topical game show and tomorrow's papers at exactly 10:30 sharp with full panel reaction. And my Mark Meets guest is the youngest ever competitor at senior level for Wales, 16-year-old table tennis former European champion Anna Hersey, also number 2 in the world, an incredible young woman. She'll be joining me shortly. But first, it's time for my Take at 10. Phew, what a scorcher. Such is the media's addiction to bad news, fear and panic. What should be a celebration of some much-needed sunshine has been characterised as Armageddon. The Guardian, who, like others, have been hugely responsible for whipping up COVID hysteria, are today responsible for this pandemic-style headline: thousands may die as record highs expected. Meanwhile, the Mayor of London has patronised the most sophisticated and successful city in the world by telling Londoners to drink water if they're thirsty. People have been urged to not go out from the hours of 11 to 3 next week. Just a suggestion at the moment, of course, but remember the pandemic, what starts as a suggestion normally becomes an instruction. Now, we've had hot days in the past, and we will have them again. Something tells me that 3 million years of evolution means that we'll be all right without tweets from local politicians. Let me reassure you that the Homo sapiens species, which is what we are, has a clever mechanism that responds to dehydration. It's called thirst. The Homo sapiens species will seek shade in the blazing sun. I know it's crazy, isn't it? The reason why I push back so hard on this mind-numbingly banal public health advice is that it has a sinister undertone. It began in the course of the pandemic by infantilizing the nation, treating us as children and selling fear. They're seeking to control us again, all in the name of public health. Our compliance during the pandemic allowed the establishment of a template of coercion by those who lead us. In years to come, it's not beyond the realms of possibility that there will be hot weather lockdowns. Authorities across the land are already saying that people should not travel on Monday or Tuesday unless it's essential. Well, it probably is essential, isn't it? Given that the economy is a colossal shit show at the moment. I think you'll find all human activity is essential. Going to work is essential. Going shopping, popping to the pub or grabbing a coffee, all essential, because retail and hospitality are on their knees and the country is broke. The public are not stupid, but they're being treated as such. We've heard of cold water, thank you very much. We've heard of hats. We've heard of sunscreen. Let us feel the consequences of a sore arm if we've spent too long in the sun. My mum was always pink after Tenerife. Enough already with this hellish safetyism, which sees the state as responsible for our well-being and health. It's not. We are. We delegated responsibility for our lives to the government over the last 2 years, and look what a mess we're in. Let's bring back personal responsibility. Get too hot if you want to. Get sunburn, you'll learn your lesson pretty fast. Obviously, don't leave kids or dogs in the car, and slap some Factor 50 on little 'un, of course. But what have we become? During the Second World War, German bombs reigned over London. And now the self-same mayor of that great city is issuing red alerts because the weather's nice. Do me a favour. I like this tweet from PJ Peterman, a chap who follows me on Twitter, writing about the heatwave of 1976, which was an absolute scorcher. He said, I remember 76. I remember water standpipes. I remember dry reservoirs. I remember cracks in the ground. You could put your clenched fist down. I remember being told to share your bathwater. I remember playing football. I remember gorgeous sunny days and ice creams. And the comedian Konstantin Kisin points out on Twitter today, of all temperature-related deaths in this country, 1% are from heat and 99% are from cold, whilst we introduce policy after policy that makes it harder for people to heat their homes. I'm sorry, folks, this has made my temperature rise and it's got nothing to do with the weather. It's time to heat wave goodbye to being told what to do all the time. Here's my public health warning. Enjoy this wonderful weather. We've been locked up for 2 years. The country's been through hell. Let's have a nice time, shall we? A picnic, a barbecue, and happy sun-kissed memories with family and friends. I'll drink to that. Now, cracking on and getting reaction from my wonderful all-star panel are Mike Porky Parry, Lisa Mason and Tommy Sandu. What do you think about this, Lisa? All these health warnings about the weather.
I mean, I think they've got to. I mean, because I think we're not used to this heat, are we, really? Let's think about it. And I think people see that there's going to be this, you know, this warm weather, so everyone just darts off down to the coast. And a lot of English people can't deal with this type of weather. They can't. And I think it's different. If you've got this temperature in, let's say, Spain or somewhere like that, I think we can all agree it just feels completely different here. It feels like the pits of hell when it's hot in the UK. And I think there are a lot of people that really underestimate, and there are so many people that do not wear sunscreen, and they'll be out there burning. You'll have people in the A&E packing up the hospitals because there are third-degree burns because they haven't, you know, put sunscreen on because it's England. It's all right. I'll be fine. I'll just, you know. And I think that they have to give a health warning. But do I think people are going to listen to it? Probably not. I think all the motorways are going to be backed up because there's going to be cars, you know, breaking down on the motorway, causing traffic, and everyone's going to be stuck, and it's going to be a nightmare.
Yeah, I took a trip up to Manchester on Thursday, a lovely event with a very nice group of people. 3 major accidents on the way, including a truck on fire. Wow. Tommy Sandu, I hear what Lisa's saying about public health warnings. Perhaps I'm sensitive to these because of 2 years of being bossed around by the government.
I think that's exactly it. There's something going on, Mark. Either we as a nation or people in general have become thicker, or we're being talked to like we are thick. Yes, it's hotter. Yes, that means wear sunscreen. If it gets cold, wear a jumper. Yeah, it's just like all the basic information. Guess, wash your hands. Oh, 20 seconds, count, do the alphabet, sing happy birthday. It's a bit like, it's just a bit patronising. But then maybe the base level of logic for the nation has just gone down, or maybe we're being conditioned to just be a bit more simpler. But I don't know, it's like, where's this common sense gone?
Common sense is not that common. Yeah, that's my favourite saying. Yeah. Common sense is not that common.
I don't think it's that simple. I think that people should recognise that heat, extreme heat, is a killer. It is a killer, believe me. I suffer terribly from the heat. Because I'm the man of the people, I came to these studios tonight on a tube train in London in a heatwave, OK? It was the journey from hell. Never again. Back into my air-conditioned limo next week, OK? No doubt about that. But can I tell you, when the heat comes down, people do suffer. How many of us, when I was a kid, right, we used to go to New Brighton Beach on the Wirral, or we used to go to Prestatyn in North Wales. My mum just let me run around in the sand. I could have died of heat stroke. I could have died of sunburn. I'm not joking, you know. It was too painful at the end of the day to put my shirt back on. So I think the heat is a killer. It really affects older people who need to be educated about what it's all about, and it is one of the responsibilities of the government to make sure we don't have thousands of people being poured into hospitals to be treated for sunstroke, heat stroke and everything else. So I'm actually with the government on this one. Yeah. Issue the warnings because we need them.
But it's to Mike, it's just to what level? I think actually, you know, you issue one and say, guys, you know, in the news or whatever, you can say, it's hot, don't forget your sunscreen. That's all that's needed, not huge policies or throwing down a net or patronising people.
You have to. If there's extreme rain and there could be potential floods, they're going to tell you, actually, it's going to rain a lot. Yeah. Make sure you're safe.
Start to build a boat just in case. Where do you draw the line?
What starts as information becomes an instruction. That's my mantra, but I hope I'll be proved wrong. Look, it's all about opinions. My panel will return very shortly to answer a simple question. Are we being too hard on Meghan Markle? We'll speak to US showbiz queen Meghan Markle, Kinsey Schofield, about that as well. We've got the papers live at 10:30, but it's time now for Mark Meets, in which I speak to the biggest names in the world of politics, showbiz, sport, business and beyond. So excited about my guest tonight. The youngest person to represent Wales at senior level in any sport. Table tennis superstar Anna Hersey. She won a European Championship silver medal only yesterday. She's made a name for herself as a global figure too, championing the environment as an ambassador for the UN. She's been doing Wales and the whole of the UK proud as a table tennis prodigy, and she joins us now. Hi, Anna. Great to see you.
Hi, nice to meet you.
Congratulations on your tournament yesterday. Were you happy with the results?
Yeah, I was very happy.
Obviously top-level competition. How old were you, Anna, when you first picked up a table tennis racket?
I was only like 5 years old. My dad started playing.
And was it love at first sight? Did you enjoy the game immediately?
Yeah, I did really like it. That's why I kept playing.
Have you got a natural talent, or is it just hard work and practice?
I'm not too sure. I think you do have to have some talent, but a lot of it does come from hard work.
Yeah, I mean, how much practice is involved? If you've got a tournament coming up, Anna, how many hours a day are we looking at?
Normally with the tournament coming up, it's only like 4 to 3 hours. But when I was in China, we used to do like a lot of hours, probably like 8 hours a day.
8 hours a day. Do you get exhausted? Does your wrist hurt? Do you get blisters?
Yeah, all of it. Yeah.
Really? What do you do about the blisters?
I don't know. Sometimes you have to pop them, put plaster on, and just get on.
My goodness, you really are a warrior as well as a champion. Has it affected your studies or your social life, Anna?
No, it hasn't really. I do my schooling online with King's Inter High.
Yeah.
And then my social life, I got loads of table tennis friends. So.
Yeah, you got table tennis friends, lots in common. What do your friends at school make of your sporting success?
They're very supportive. They support me for everything.
Oh, well, I'm really pleased to hear that. And the family as well, of course, especially Dad.
Yeah, my dad plays, so he coaches me sometimes.
Is he? What's it like being coached by your dad sometimes? Is it annoying?
It's okay. He doesn't coach me as much anymore, but we do sometimes still practice in the house.
Well, obviously, we've got him to thank for getting you started in the sport. And tell me about representing Wales. That must be a very proud moment for you.
Yeah, it is. I did my first international match at 10 years old. So, yeah, I mean, I'm really proud to be representing Wales.
Number 1 in Europe, you've achieved that, European champion. Number 2 in the world at cadet level. What are your ambitions in the game going forward, Anna?
Well, hopefully in the future I can be in the Olympics, win medals. But very soon I've got Commonwealth Games up, and it's my second one. So, yeah, I'm very excited.
Got everything crossed for the Commonwealth Games. You can be honest with me, Anna. Do you ever get sick of table tennis?
No, I wouldn't. I don't get sick of it. But, I mean, sometimes it is hard, you know, all the hard work and the training, and also when you do lose. But, yeah, I just keep myself motivated.
Do you do any sports science, or do you have a approach, a mentality that helps you win?
Not really, no. I don't have any sports sciences, but yeah, I mean, there is like a routine that I normally do before going into a game.
Would you care to share that with me, or is it top secret?
No, it's not. It's just like warming up, listening to music. Yeah, I mean, that's about it. Just trying to get into the right headset.
What kind of tunes do you listen to?
Mostly before match, just happy ones that get me upbeat. Yeah.
That's brilliant. So you when you're going into competition, you're thinking positively, you're mentally preparing, you're getting focused.
Yeah.
That's brilliant. Now, you're very passionate about the environment as well and are an ambassador for the UN. Even the White House have been in touch. Tell me more about your work in relation to the environment.
Yeah, so I was a young champion for the UNFCCC, which is United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change. and that's kind of why the US Embassy contacted me about a year ago, I would say, just to help them with everything that they're doing on climate change.
That's brilliant. Well, you've made a name for yourself in relation to the environment on a global scale and, of course, in the sport of table tennis. First of all, can I congratulate you on everything you've done for Wales and for this country? And there will be many more victories to come, I'm certain. What is your next tournament? When's it coming, do you know?
Yeah, so my next tournament is Commonwealth Games, which is it's literally like 1 week away now. So yeah, now we're just training. We got Commonwealth Camp in Wales, and then also this Commonwealth is the first Commonwealth Games that will be carbon neutral. So that's quite amazing as well.
Well, you're quite amazing. You're a deeply impressive 16-year-old, Anna. I've got to say, I'm convinced my viewers will be blown away by your maturity, and they'll certainly be blown away by their talent if they've seen you playing table tennis. Really good luck in a week's time.
Thank you.
Brilliant stuff. Inspirational. Anna Hersey there, speaking all about her career as a table tennis champion. Number 2 in the world at one point. Lots to look forward to in terms of her career. Well, lots more now coming up. The Queen of Stateside Royal Reporting, Kinsey Schofield, tells us what she thinks of the revelations regarding Meghan Markle in Tom Bower's new book. I'll be asking my panel and Kinsey, are we too hard on Meghan Markle? And at 10:30, we've got the papers with full panel reaction. And it's all about the Tory leadership. There's some unbelievable stories coming through, so you won't want to miss that. I'll see you in 2.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment. We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know. The latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood, and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, Matt. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
The papers at bang on 10:30. We've got some incredible stories coming in on that one. But it's high time now for us to speak with the Queen of US showbiz, royal and political reporting, Kinsey Schofield in US News. Hi, Kinsey.
Hi, Mark. This is so exciting. Revenge by Tom Bower. I've been waiting. I've created a tent next to my front door, and I'm just waiting for the postman to show up with my copy.
Well, that's right. He's a good friend of mine. As you mentioned, Revenge, Meghan, Harry and the War Between the Windsors is out next week. It's been serialised in The Times and The Sun. Some revelations are starting to emerge from that serialisation. What do we know so far, Kinsey?
There's a couple of really interesting points. I think the one that everybody's really surprised by is that the Queen allegedly said, thank goodness that Meghan was not at Prince Philip's memorial. I think that you know, we all are trying to avoid drama when we're getting the family all together to remember somebody. So I don't think anybody would disagree with her, but it was surprising to hear something like that come from the Queen, who's so notoriously private. And then another revelation that really kind of popped off online was that Vanity Fair struggled to confirm Meghan Markle's story about Procter & Gamble. This is a story Meghan has told for decades now, that she wrote Procter & Gamble as a child, saying that it was sexist, that the line was women all over the world in their housekeeping ads, and that they changed the verbiage for her, and that Hillary Clinton wrote her a letter, and all of this, you know, kind of grandstanding at age 11. She's getting all of these accolades for a letter she wrote. Vanity Fair struggled to be able to fact check that. So there was some question on whether or not that story was true. So the hashtag Meghan Markle is a liar was trending all yesterday over some of these revelations in Tom Bower's new book.
Meghan polices her public image enthusiastically. Tom Bower's a brave man. Lesser journalists have been sued by this couple.
Yes, but I think specifically with Tom Bower, who I do enjoy watching on your program, I don't think he's ever actually lost a lawsuit, and several of the people that he's written about have pursued him and gone after him in court. He's very meticulous with his notes. The kids would say, the TikTok kids would tell you he keeps receipts, Mark.
Yeah.
So this guy knows what he's doing, and there was a story out when we initially found out that he was writing this book, that Meghan was particularly nervous about this biography because Tom Bower does have that reputation for being so curse word good.
Yeah, too right. Well, you're so curse word good as well. Let's bring in my curse word good panel, if I can. Tommy Sandu, Lisa Mason and Mike Porky Parry. Tommy Sandu, is the media too hard on Meghan Markle?
Yeah, you should lighten up, leave her alone. She's a lovely girl who deserves all the freedom to do what she wants to do in life. No, look, you're there. You're a princess. You put yourself up in the firing line in that respect. This is someone who brings a lot of attention on herself. We know that she's done that over the years. You know, I mean, look, they had some internal family issues, and she went to Oprah and aired it all. If I've got issues, I don't go to Mark Dolan and air my issues with my family. I sort my issues out with my family. That's what family problems are. So I think if you live by the sword, you've got to die by the sword. She's out there. She's exposed to it. She's a celebrity. She's being judged on the biggest and most sensitive platforms. And we know Tom Bower doesn't mess around. That's got to be nervy for her.
I think your mic's gone, so we don't want to miss a word of that. We're going to get Chloe in to fix your microphone. Lisa Mason,
yes.
Are the media, are Brits too hard on Meghan Markle? We've got a text poll about it. I'll give you the results of that shortly.
I think a little bit. I think, you know, when William came out that he was, you know, dating Kate, I think everyone had a big to-do about her and called her a commoner because she wasn't, you know, royal enough. You've literally brought in, as people say, a commoner into the royal family. This is someone that's always been in the limelight. She has been in Hollywood. She is not somebody that is used to dealing with the royal way. So to expect her, I guess people will say, well, if you're getting into the royal family, you should know. But at the same time, to have those expectations of somebody that comes from her background, I think is a bit unrealistic and a little bit unfair.
Mike Porky Parry, you've written for almost every department of our great national newspapers. You've been on the sport pages of The Sun. You've edited titles like The Express. And you've done plenty of royal reporting. In fact, you broke a major royal story.
Yeah, I did, yeah. I announced to the world the death of Diana, Princess of Wales, before anybody else found out, because I got the information from Robin Cook, the Foreign Secretary, who was out in Manila with the correspondent that I was employing at the Press Association, and Robin Cook actually confirmed the death of Diana. So that was a magical moment
and it was a
in
gamble.
The history of the royal family.
Yeah, it was a gamble for you, wasn't it? You know, you put your reputation on the line.
It wasn't a magical moment for me to have to announce that. But what I'm saying is, I had to wait 17 minutes before Mr. Chevaunemont, who was the Foreign Secretary of France, came out of the Élysée Palace and actually confirmed the news that Dan was said. But getting back to Meghan, I don't know why there is still a debate about whether poor old Meghan is being ostracised by a lot of journalists around the world, why she's being put upon ridiculous allegations of racism because, you know, she's the first member of the royal family who doesn't have a purely white skin and all that. I mean, Meghan has dug her own grave. When you have to get the Archbishop of Canterbury to actually confirm that something Meghan said to Oprah Winfrey wasn't quite correct, because Meghan tried to give the Oprah Winfrey show a big boost by saying, oh, actually, we weren't married in the ceremony that everybody saw around the world. We were married a couple of days earlier by the Archbishop of Canterbury in the garden. And of course, the Archbishop of Canterbury had to come out and say, I'm sorry, that's not entirely accurate. When the royal family, headed by the Queen, who I think most people would say is the most noble and honourable woman in the world, and when they have to issue a statement saying recollections may vary, OK, i.e., we're not sure that their version of events is what we think happened, then she's dug her own grave, old Meghan. You know, she's looked consistently for publicity, being given huge deals by people like Netflix, and is it Spotify, I think, or certainly...
Well, yeah.
Spotify. Yeah. And she's got to justify this by coming up with, you know, gee whiz, you know, bang, smash, facts, and a lot of them don't stand up. And Tom Bower is the last man I'd want on my case if I thought, I'd rather keep things in my life secret. No, not when Tom Bower's on the case.
No, well, look, let me tell you, it's exactly 10:30. It's time for the papers. And stick around, because we've got an exclusive. Stick around for a moment if you can, Kinsey. We've got an exclusive in The Sun on Sunday. And this is massive. Royal rift, say the Sun newspaper. The Queen and Prince Charles insisted that Meghan end her rift with her dad and were exasperated by her refusal. This, according to Tom Bower's new book. Your reaction to this massive breaking story, Kinsey?
It's my understanding that this is
Kinsey, can I get just your reaction to that? The Queen, this is what we're hearing on the newswires, the Queen and Charles begged Meghan to heal the rift with her own father, Thomas Markle, a regular guest on Dan Wootton's show.
Yeah, I'm hearing that that's actually very, very much accurate, that they just could not understand why she couldn't just jump on a plane, go see him and shut this down, that he was a huge thorn in their side, and that Meghan refused to because she'd never visited her father in Mexico, in that border town. She has no idea where he lives, and she just thought that she didn't want to be inconvenienced by it. She just wanted to ghost him the way that she ghosts everybody. So I think that that's actually pretty accurate.
We've been on Twitter, Kinsey, asking our public, our followers, are we too hard on Meghan Markle? 11.3% said yes, we're too hard. 88.7% said no.
Oh, wow.
A more recent poll of whether Kinsey Schofield is the best thing about Mark Dolan tonight, 100% yes.
Oh, I love you so much.
Look forward to more revelations from that book next week. Can't wait to see you in a week's time. And Tom Bower should be with us on Friday night. So make sure that you catch that one, Kinsey, and we'll react to it in your regular slot in a week's time. The amazing queen of US showbiz and royal reporting, Kinsey Schofield. Check out her website, To Die For Daily, full of royal exclusives. Right, let's get to some of the other papers now. I gave you that story in The Sun on Sunday. Charles and the Queen begged Meghan to heal the rift with Thomas Markle, and Meghan did no such thing. Let's also go to the Daily Star now, and here's what they're leading with. And it's all about the weather. 41 degrees centigrade temperatures plus string vest boom. It puts us in the mood for romance. The heat wave will be followed by a baby boom, as boffins say couples romp more when it's hot. It comes as string vests were revealed as the sexiest summer gear. And that's the whole truth, say the Daily Star Sunday. Brilliant work as ever. Also, William Shatner, how to be a sex symbol at 90. There you go. There's hope for all of us. Yeah. OK, where should we go next? Let's have the Independent. We got the Indie? What have you got for me? You tell me what you've got. OK, we got the Observer, no problem at all. Let's have a look at the Observer. As Europe burns, climate chief warns I may quit if new PM dumps net zero plan. Alok Sharma issues a challenge to the Tories. The cabinet minister who led last year's landmark COP26 UN climate summit has made a dramatic intervention in the Tory leadership race, suggesting he could resign if the incoming Prime Minister fails to commit to a strong agenda on the climate crisis.
Yeah, I hope he does quit.
Also, Johnson skips Cobra meeting as heat builds. We'll get the reaction of Mike Porky-Parry and my panel in just a moment. Let me get you some of the other papers first. Where should we go next? The Independent next. Sunak talks tough on Brexit in appeal for votes. Rishi Sunak is making a fresh pitch to Brexit-backing Tories in the party's leadership race with a vow to rip up EU rules on financial services, data and clinical trials. Better late than never.
Should have been done years ago.
Should definitely have been done years ago. It would have been 2020 would have been a nice time when we actually left.
Exactly.
Sunday Express, Brexit pledge if favourite wins PM race. Rishi, I'll scrap EU red tape in first 100 days.
Will he?
Let's see about that. Sunday Telegraph next. Sunak vows to ditch EU laws holding Britain back. And Liz Truss, I will put an end to Stalinist housing targets. Also, consider working from home in heatwave, says Minister. Those are your front pages. Let's get a full panel reaction now from Fleet Street and radio legend Mike Porky-Parry, Olympian Lisa Mason and comedian, broadcaster and podcaster Tommy Sandu. Let's have a look. Shall we start with this threat, Mike Porky-Parry, of Alok Sharma, the cabinet minister who led the COP26 climate change summit? Threat to quit.
Yes.
If a new prime minister ditches net zero.
Yeah, I hope Alok does, because that would mean then we would dump the net zero plan, OK? Yeah. So if Alok's going to be true to the word, dump the net zero plan. Net zero plan's rubbish. We all know that. I think it's 1/3 of all our energy bills at the moment contain a premium, don't they, for our investment into green energy. Green energy is a bit like... Remember when British Airways went private? They got the Concorde. But before the Concorde was given to them, we'd spent tens of billions developing the Concorde and then gave it to them free. This is exactly the same. Everybody now is saying, green energy is now so cheap. No, it's not. It's cost tens of billions of pounds, right? And now they're saying, well, we've got there now. We haven't got there now. We all know about if wind doesn't blow, there's no wind energy. If the sun doesn't shine, there's no solar energy. It's all very well at the moment saying, oh, it's very hot. We're only going to have 10 days of heat like that in this country. So I think these targets are rubbish. I know that the climate is changing, and I'm not a climate denier, but I question as to how much man's personal behaviour is contributing to that climate change. For instance, and I've said this before, if the Romans could grow vineyards along Hadrian's Wall when they were here in AD 400...
And you like a drop of wine.
I like a drop of wine, so I've done research into it. There were vineyards growing along Hadrian's Wall in AD 400. How come in the 1600s we could light bonfires on the River Thames because there was 2 feet of ice? What I'm saying is it's cyclical. You know, the weather meteorology is cyclical. We don't have any sunspots at the moment. You know what sunspots are, Mark?
No.
They are the sunglasses of the sun. Do you see what I mean? They're bursts of energy which cover the sun and the distance between the sun and the earth, which means the heat reflects back to the sun. Now, sunspots come around every couple of thousand years. We haven't got them at the moment, so there's no filter of the sun's heat towards the earth as there is in some centuries that we've lived, and it's all cyclical.
I thought sunspots were those funny little articles in the Sun newspaper.
Yeah, they are as well, but I mean, if you take this seriously for one moment, Mark, you know, we're talking here about, talking about a global crisis, and the global crisis is not the earth burning up. The global crisis is that we all get poor for trying to pretend it is burning up, and we've got to spend ridiculous amounts of money to try and save it.
Michael, do these fires in Portugal not give you pause for thought? 41 degrees in Surbiton on Tuesday. Does that not give you pause for thought?
I saw this. I thought, the star, 41. Everybody else says it's going to be 40, but that'll give it another 1%. Exactly, yeah. No, of course it doesn't, because I call it summer. Did you live through the summer of '76? Because I did. I was a young man.
I was 2. You were about maybe 12?
No. Well, thank you. I was about 20. And it was a burning hot. Now, we haven't had one since then. So if the world really is burning up, wouldn't we have had one of those every year?
Yeah.
But no, we haven't. I mean, you know, we've had huge floods in this country going back to 1953. That is climate. that is the way it goes. When it rains, it floods. And when there's heat like we are now, we get droughts. But it happens every blinking year. It certainly happens every decade. So it's nothing unusual. And to be bullied all the time by, you know, the climate change lobby. I mean, it's only a few years ago, you're not old enough, please, to remember this. Everybody said, well, the world's finished because of the greenhouse effect. And then the greenhouse effect petered out. So nobody talks about the greenhouse
ozone layer
effect.
filled up again?
The ozone layer, big hole in the ozone layer. It means the sun's burning through. We're all going to burn to death. And then all of a sudden, the ozone layer closed again. What about the pea supers in 1953? You won't remember the pea supers.
Terrible fog.
In 1953, my parents told me you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. Yeah. Now, the climate in this country now is amongst the cleanest in the world, and you don't see things like that anymore. So we've done a brilliant job in this country cleaning up the climate, cleaning up the weather, and there's not a lot more we can do, considering we contribute less than 1% to all the output in the world, which causes pollution.
Tommy Sandu, do you think our next Prime Minister needs to ditch the green agenda? It seems from this story in The Observer that if they do, there will be political trouble ahead.
I'm the common man. I'm someone who, like, look, everything Mike just said there, a lot of that's blown my mind because I didn't know a lot of that.
Really?
And this is the problem we've got.
Secret Truth and Justice.
There's so much conflicting information.
Yes.
And you speak to people who are all for the green agenda, all for net zero, who will argue a very compelling case one way. Us hear Mike saying, I'm like, that makes sense the other way. And I do know we're living in a time where there's just too much information floating around. We're allowing information to flow a lot more freely. Our resources, the sources in which we're getting our information from, vary so much from around the world. So for that reason, it leaves people like me, and I think a lot of us, in this kind of stuck in this middle ground. And I actually think there is a middle ground to be struck. I think there is more that we can do to protect the Earth's resources. I think there is more that we can do to have cleaner air and protect ourselves long term. And maybe it's not net zero, but maybe it's not, don't worry, this is all just, you know, a cycle factor. I was reading an article today about in 1540, there was an incredible heat wave that across the whole planet and how it affected everything and how it just goes through cycles. So I'm somewhere in the middle. I think more can be done. I don't think it needs to be quite net zero. I don't think it needs to go to extremes. And I definitely don't want to see billions and billions of pounds being spent on things that could be avoided. We know from COVID, we know from many other things that have affected the planet, and even when you talk about diversity, the extremes that we go to now to react to stories, I'm like, I think we just need to calm down.
Well, they call
it in a bit.
They call it overcorrection, don't they?
Yeah.
And we want diversity and we want an equal society.
Yeah.
But if the state and the authorities are too heavy-handed, I think it backfires.
It could make a bad situation worse, or it could create a situation when there isn't one.
Yeah.
And I think that might be the case here. It might be the case with many things across the news.
Yeah. I mean, Lisa, do you think our next Prime Minister has some licence to row back on these green policies or not?
Do you know what? I'll be really honest with you. I don't think there's much I can say to follow up from these two gentlemen and what they've said on all of this. Blew my mind with things, I think, like you had said, the misinformation. Well, not even misinformation. There's so many...
I wouldn't make a habit of agreeing with Mike Parry if I were you.
Why not?
You'll have a very short career.
No, not at all.
He's a controversialist. He's a maverick.
No, it will advance your life prospects.
I could literally listen to him talking about so many things. My mouth literally dropped when I was listening to you talk about this
sunspot.
Yeah, I was like, what?
Well, you know, I'm here to inform.
Legend of radio and Fleet Street. He knows his onions. But the point is that everyone's got a say, haven't they? We've all got a right to comment on this because we're the ones that are impacted by these green measures, these green levies.
I mean, yeah, I think everyone's going to have their opinion either way, and it depends what information you're listening
do you think, would it be a vote winner for you if our new Prime Minister goes to the country in 2 years' time and says, I'm going to reduce these green taxes? Is that a vote winner for you?
I mean, not really.
You know, if it brought the cost of heating your home down or the cost of filling up your car with petrol
I mean,
or diesel.
I'm all up for that because, I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. I'm actually thankful it's hot right now because the thought of winter coming and the price of my gas and electric, and it's even going up and I don't even have my heating on right now. So, yeah, I guess, like, when you put it in that way, then, yes, I think if it's going to reduce these prices, then absolutely.
Green levies are just a tax, aren't they? They're simply another method for all governments to row in more money from the population.
Speed cameras.
Bit like speed cameras, bit like the ridiculous 20 mile an hour we've now got in London, where they're hoping that 1 million motorists a year will exceed that speed limit, and they'll fine them.
We need a modern-day Robin Hood. That's what we need.
Yeah, we do. Yeah.
A modern-day Robin Hood.
Well, what about in the Sunday Telegraph, Lisa Mason? Sunak vows to ditch EU laws holding Britain back. Rishi Sunak says that if he becomes Prime Minister, he will unleash and unlock the potential of Brexit.
Do you know what? Honestly, I don't really believe half the stuff that all these wannabe prime ministers are going to say.
Candidates,
because,
they're like apprentice
Yeah,
finalists,
I think they talk a good game, and half the time they don't live up to what they're saying anyway. So,
I mean, does Brexit still matter, Lisa?
Do you know what? I'll be really honest with you. I don't think that I have all the facts to kind of really comment in detail on it, if I'm really honest.
I think a better question, Mark, don't mind me interrupting, would have been, if we abandon Brexit, does it matter? Because at the moment, we're in no man's land, aren't we?
Yes.
You know, Brexit should have been pushed through. Nobody's tried hard enough to do it.
Make it work.
And Keir Starmer comes along and says, I've got an alternative plan. So what they're trying to do is very, gently nudge it back. Do you see what I mean? So when you say, does Brexit still matter, it matters more than ever, because if you take your eye off the ball and take your foot off the accelerator, somebody's going to jump in and put it into reverse.
I think you're right. There are forces that want to reverse Brexit.
Absolutely.
In the media, among the opposition,
Absolutely.
possibly among some Tories as well.
Yes.
Tommy, could this get Rishi Sunak into the final two if he throws red meat in the direction of Brexiteers? This in The Independent. Sunak talks tough on Brexit in appeal for votes. Ex-Chancellor vows to rip up rules in an attempt to woo members.
So, here's what I think, Mark. You know when you want to go on holiday and you pick a hotel, and as the dad, I'll go, this is the hotel, man, this is the one we're going to go for. And then you get to the hotel and you're like, maybe it wasn't the best hotel. OK, maybe there are some issues around this hotel. But look, we're here now, so what are we going to do? And what Rishi's saying is, guys, stop with the moaning. I know the room's not perfect, and I know there's some issues. And
there's a dead cat in the pool.
It's fine.
I was going to say green slime.
Right, OK. we can get rid of the slime. I'll speak to the hotel manager. We're going to sort the slime out, and then we're going to make the most of this trip now. We're on this trip. And what I do want in a Prime Minister is going to go, we've accepted it now. You can't reverse this, particularly after everything we've been through.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do it properly. Let's go with it. And I think what he's saying is, let's go. Let's go and let's make this a holiday to remember. Come on, family. Put your smile back on and let's get that British spirit back. What's going wrong?
More from the papers with my brilliant panel. Is body hair making a comeback? We're about to find out in the next few days because we're all stripping off, aren't we? And we'll play another great British game show. Going back to the story of teeth from earlier, we'll play a game of celebrity. That's right. Can you recognise the famous star from their smile? So, more from the papers and a bit of fun as well. See you in 2.
We are GB News.
We're right across this great nation.
On TV.
On radio.
On digital. Absolutely everywhere.
We don't talk down to you.
We embrace all voices with honest and civilised conversation.
We are not part of the establishment. We're one of you.
And we're only getting started.
Join us on GB News,
The People's Channel.
Britain's news channel. Hi there, it's Stephen and Anne.
At breakfast from 6 a.m, you'll always be caught up with everything you need to know. The latest headlines, opinions and debates.
We'll bring you the good news and the bad, but most of all, we're here for you.
Remember, send in your views and let us know what you would like us to talk about.
That's because we're your news channel. And every morning at 6 a.m, it's breakfast on GB News.
My name's Tom Harwood and join me 9:30 a.m. every weekday for The Briefing, your one-stop shop for everything you need to know about what's going on in politics today.
I wonder if this is a deal that might need to be like the biscuits in this factory, twice baked.
Is there not an opportunity here to win out against the extremes?
Tom Harwood, GB News.
What are you going to do about it?
Things should have been done differently, and they certainly are being done differently.
Don't miss it. The Briefing with me, Tom Harwood, 9:30 Monday to Friday on GB News.
Where would you like to go?
Just take me to the studio, please, Matt. You know where you're going. I've got a show to do. Friday Night Feast on GB News, 7 p.m. And it's like nothing you've ever seen before. We take a different angle on the week's biggest news stories. The viewers and listeners set me some absolutely mad challenges to do. We tried to rehome a rescue dog. And yes, there's some other wacky stuff in there as well. I feel like I could take on the world. Well, that's that. Friday Night Feast with me, Patrick Christie's, every Friday, 7 till 9 p.m. on GB News. Be there.
Strong reaction on email to our news agenda discussion around today's papers. The minister responsible for running the COP26 climate summit, Alok Sharma, is threatening to resign. This is a story in The Independent tomorrow. If our new Prime Minister ditches net zero. Well, this from Charles, who says, "Hi, Mark, such a shame you're a Spurs supporter, but no one's perfect." I agree with you on that one. Global average temperatures have only increased by a fraction of a degree over the last 20 years. However, it is true that only a small change in the average does increase the risk of extreme events, say from once in 100 years to twice. Sadly, if you make the same point in wokeland, such as a small difference in intelligence and creativity or violence between men and women makes a big difference in the proportion of ultra-intelligent, creative or violent men in society, you get cancelled. How odd. A very well-written and considered email. Thank you for that, Charles. Lots more to come from the papers. The Daily Star has reported that women on the website OnlyFans have been making money by flaunting their body hair. Since the weather has warmed up, now's the time that beauty organisations make millions, selling razors and waxing supplies. But are we moving away from the taboo times of body hair and moving towards embracing our natural stubbly beauty? Mike?
Well, I'm sorry, women are the fairest sex, OK? And I've seen one of the pictures of a lady raise her arm, armpit and all that. That's an individual decision for any individual woman. And any woman can control her own body and please herself how she wants to adorn herself or otherwise.
Family show, Mike.
Yeah.
For me,
Where's this going?
For me personally, women are the fairest sex, and the less hair they have around their body, in my view, the better.
Oh, well, there you go. He's put his cards on the table. Tommy Sandu, where do you stand on body hair, whether it's blokes with the chest rug? I'm trying to think of a celebrity that was famous for the chest rug. Perhaps Burt Reynolds.
I was going to say Burt Reynolds.
Yeah. Baywatch, yeah. David Hasselhoff.
David Hasselhoff, yeah.
So first of all, what do you think about the chest rug and male body hair?
OK, I'm not a very hairy man.
And of course, Mike
took his shirt off, didn't he?
Harry's good friend Richard Keys.
Richard Keys, that's right. Richard's got hair around the back of his arm.
That was the thing, wasn't it? Like hairy men with their chain.
I've got to say,
Giggs ripped his shirt off, didn't he, when he scored the winner in the semi-final against Arsenal. Massive great hair rug.
Which a lot of members of his immediate family saw, didn't they? But we won't dwell on that one.
No, exactly. Look, you know, my roots are Indian, but and Indian men and women are known for being very, very hairy, which is almost like a curse, really. You come from one of the hottest countries in the world, and God gives you lots of body hair. But I'm not a very hairy person. I've got to go with what I'm given, and I'm not too hairy there, so I'm going to back the non-hairies, and I'm going to say I prefer. I don't like the au natural hair growing everywhere on a woman, and even on a man. I've got cousins who are very hairy backs, hairy fronts. They laser it all before we go on holiday. If we go on a boys' trip, they're sorting themselves out. Yeah.
They imac it all off.
That's right.
What do you think, Lisa? Because I guess it impacts women, doesn't it?
Yeah.
A lot of adults' entertainment, there's adult movies. Everyone's had the razor treatment, but will we ever go back to the kind of the 70s?
Do you know what? Everyone's got their own thing.
The ginger growler?
Ginger growler.
Going to make a return? Old,
dear me.
The curtains much the rock.
Deputy leader of the Labour Party.
I thought you said
Angela
it was a family
Rayner.
show.
Family show. Everyone's got their own thing. Like, I think hair is generally looked at as masculine.
Yeah, I agree.
But
well put.
Some guys like masculine. It's their thing. I think that just because you personally don't like it doesn't mean that someone else is not. You know.
Okay, briefly, because we've got to get to the game. Is underarm hair on a lady unattractive, Lisa?
I mean, I don't like it, but that's my personal preference.
OK, well, there
Yes,
you
is
go.
the answer.
Yes, Tommy Sandu.
Yes.
On the fence. It's time now for the Great British Game Show to continue our big question theme about pearly whites. Our game tonight is called Celebrity. Can you at home guess the celebrity from their smile? And also we'll get my panel to guess that too. Let's start with celebrity number one. Let's have a look.
Oh, is that
Cheryl?
Cheryl Cole.
Yeah, she was married to Brad Pitt, famous actress.
Oh, Angelina Jolie.
Yeah, of course.
Angelina Jolie, there she is.
Oh, it's-
Next up, a very important person, a VIP,
Oh, the Queen.
is Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II.
It's a bit busted at the bottom, isn't it? Look at that one.
Spotted,
Yeah, just a little bit.
Invisalign.
How about the King of Football?
The king of...
Bex.
Oh, is that...
Yeah.
No, that's Victoria's.
That's
Mark.
Victoria.
Is that...
That's Victoria
Not
Beckham.
David Beckham.
Let's
is
have
it?
the reveal.
It is Victoria.
Yeah.
Victoria.
See,
That's
I got it
exactly
first.
right.
Bex.
That was my mistake. There you go. Was
It was
Victoria.
like, that is a woman's
That was a bit of a trick question. How about our next Hollywood hot
There you go. That's David.
Beckham.
That's David.
It's actually not. It's a famous actor.
Oh,
with a six-pack.
High School Musical. What's his name?
Zac Efron.
What's his
Zac
Zac Efron. That's the one.
Well recognised from that.
Okay. What about legendary US singer?
Who's that? Rihanna?
Yep, it is Rihanna, one of the most beautiful women in the world. We're back into the world of music now. A rock icon.
Oh, that's
Elton John.
Yeah.
It is Elton John.
Oh, look at that.
Winning smile.
That's had some red wine on them teeth over the years. Look at that.
How about presidential hopeful here, plus actor? Who is he?
The Rock.
It is Dwayne The Rock Johnson.
Well done.
Okay, another beautiful actress.
Oh, Julia Roberts.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, it is
Well done.
Julia Roberts.
Brilliant.
And then let's do two more. We've got a guy that used to be quite powerful.
Oh, I have no
Number
idea.
10.
That's
Boris.
Oh, no.
Boris Johnson.
Boris.
There we go. And what about this loser?
Yeah.
Is that you?
I'm afraid it is. Presenter.
Look at that.
From a photograph
Great.
taken many years ago when I had far less on my shoulders. Thanks to my amazing panel. You guys are the best, and most importantly to you for your company. We're back tomorrow at 9 with another incredible show. Stick around, I'm doing headliners.
Looking ahead to tomorrow's weather, and the UK is looking cloudy in the north with outbreaks of rain, drier and brighter in the south. Let's take a look at the details. After a warm night, it will be a fine start across southwest England with plenty of sunshine, though the sunshine may turn hazy at times as high clouds build in. A warm and sunny start for the southeast of England and the London area. Winds will remain light and temperatures will steadily climb through the morning. Plenty of warm sunshine across Wales with mostly high-based cloud around. Winds will be mostly light, though some stronger gusts for north at Pembrokeshire. It will be a cloudy start across northwest England with some outbreaks of rain and drizzle at first. This will clear eastwards through the morning, allowing for some bright or sunny spells later. Generally cloudy at first for much of northeast England with some outbreaks of rain and drizzle spreading in from the west. However, there will be bright or sunny spells around also tomorrow morning. Mainly cloudy for southern Scotland with spells of rain and drizzle. This will clear away during the